I am here with Lee B. Salz, who is a leading sales management strategist and CEO of Sales Architects. He's a recognized expert in sales differentiation. He works with senior executives and business owners across industries to help their salespeople win more deals at the prices they want. And he has a new book out, and I'm very excited to talk to you about that. So, welcome, Lee.
Thank you, Diane.
Well, we've had quite an interesting morning so far because we've had
We
a
have.
few technical difficulties. But your book is Sales Differentiation, and I'm very excited to talk about that because I know you're a sales expert, and I know other people probably have heard you on my show. But in case they've missed it, can you give a little background to how you became a sales expert?
Sure. So even when I was a teenager, I was very passionate about sales differentiation. Any of the businesses I worked in, I tried to figure out why someone would buy from them instead of the competition. And over the years and working with sales teams that I ran, I was always involved in helping to shape differentiation strategies, both in what they sold and how they sold.
And so, sales has kind of changed a lot since I was I did it for decades, and it was kind of like an individual thing. And now it's more of a team kind of setting, I think, a lot different than when I was there. They threw me the yellow pages, said, here, dial for dollars, Is it different now? I mean, do younger people sell differently, or what's the change?
The biggest thing is the complexity, particularly in B2B sales and what you're selling, and companies recognizing that salespeople have a very particular specialized skill set. And rather than saying they have to know everything, be able to do everything, they're saying we need someone to be able to handle the key sales function. And then we're going to have experts behind them to support them. So in essence, the salesperson's become the quarterback of the deal. You perform the sales function and bring the right people in from our organization at the right time.
Yeah, it is an interesting focus, and you deal with not just the sales aspect, but some people might even look at it as the marketing aspect. Would you say differentiation is up to the salespeople? Is it a marketing issue? Can you just address that?
Yeah, so when I bring up the subject of differentiation to an executive, right away, boom, mind goes towards marketing.
Right.
And they only see it through that lens. And I said, well, what about the sales side? What about the sales department? And they look, what do you mean the sales department? And they don't think about the differentiation opportunities they have within that sales function. And I bifurcate the two as marketing differentiation as one directional communication for the masses. Screams, hey, look at us, we're here.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And it paves the way for salespeople to have those right conversations leading to a deal getting done. So from marketing differentiation comes sales differentiation. So it builds off of it and converts the intrigue that marketing differentiation creates and turns it into buyer action. So sales differentiation is two-way communication with a targeted, specific buyer. It personalizes the experience because if you think about when people are buying, no matter what it is, whether it be at the consumer level, B2B level, the motivations, the drivers, what you're looking to accomplish are going to be different. So you can't have the same conversation with everyone and say, oh, this is going to work and I'm going to get tons of sales.
Yeah.
So sales differentiation gets into personalizing that experience.
Yeah, I'm all about that. I mean, I write about personality, so I think that your big factor is to figure out how to reach each individual on their level, and a lot of that is asking questions. So I'm a curiosity expert, and that to me, I have a sample example of when I was in sales where I walked into a doctor's office when I was in pharmaceuticals, and I was so excited. I gave this detailed presentation and got through all three products, and I'm like, yes, and I'm walking out the door thinking this is great. Later, I get in the elevator, and a guy gets on, and I said, so do you work in the building? And it was the guy I had just sold to because I didn't even interact with him. It was humiliating, and I was so young, and the guy looks at me like you idiot, but that talks up to how important it is to interact and not just sell at somebody, right?
Absolutely. I'll give you an example. So imagine you and I sell copiers for a living.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very exciting time for us because our R&D development team for the last 3 years has been working on this new technology. And they've just told the sales team that we have the only copiers and printers that can print 50 shades of gray. The only one that can print 50 shades of gray.
Yeah.
And tomorrow we have a meeting with a CFO to talk about this new copier. I'm hoping none of the viewers would be talking about the 50 Shades of Gray. Not because of the subject matter, but if you think about a CFO, they don't care about color, shades, and hues.
Right.
What do they care about? They care about the economic impact.
Right.
And then in the afternoon, you have a meeting with a marketing manager. They don't care about the economic impact. They care about print quality.
Yeah.
And then the next day, you have a meeting with the IT manager. They don't care about the economic impact. They don't care about print quality. They care about how it's going to integrate with the rest of their network. So 3 very different conversations, but what we're selling is identical. And
Yeah.
if salespeople don't evolve how they're handling that sales call, at best they're going to go 1 out of 3.
Yeah, you're bringing up the old features versus benefits argument, but a lot of people, they think that there's just one feature to one benefit, and there's so many benefits to each feature, and you just highlighted that perfectly in that example. And it kind of reminds me when we used to have to do personality tests in an office where I worked, where we had to put our results on our cubicle so everybody knew if we were a certain personality type. So, for example, if I was a yellow, then when you come talk to me, you better be showing me spreadsheets. And if I if I was a red, you better get right to the point. And nobody. It's almost like the comedian that said, "Here's your sign if you were stupid." But it's like it helped because you kind of knew who you're talking to. But you get out in the real world, you don't know what I mean, you got a lot of advantages that you didn't used to have because of LinkedIn. You can stalk people and find out everything you need to know. You couldn't do that before. You'd walk in and you'd be staring to see where their certificates were from and their trophies, right? And so I'd be looking at your bookshelf, you'd be looking at my bookshelf. We look like we've got matching sets here, but you'd be trying to figure out something really fast. Times have changed. And then what I think also is very interesting is the fact that now they know as much as you do as far as what your products can do. So you have to go a step beyond that. And so there's got to be some frustration involved in being a salesperson because there's just you don't really know which direction to go, what they know, what you don't know. It's got to be even more intimidating in some ways, no?
Well, I'm going to challenge you on one piece.
Okay.
I've asked salespeople in all different industries, B2B, B2C, one question. Who knows more about the world of possible solutions in your industry, you or the people you sell to? I've never had a salesperson say, "Oh, the people I sell to know more than I do."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the salespeople have a superior knowledge, but they forget about that when they see, CEO on the business card. Now, he knows what he wants.
Yeah.
So it provides, in my opinion, both an obligation and an opportunity.
Yeah.
If you're in sales, I believe you have an obligation to help people make informed buying decisions. But that also means there's an opportunity for you to help shape buyer decision criteria, which means you can help align what it is they want to buy with the solutions that you bring to bear. So if you think of traditional sales conversations, we say, I'm going to go on a sales call and I'm going to probe for pain, right? That's a common thing. We got to find the pain or the challenges that they're having. And you try to sell just based on their perception of pain or challenge, and you're leaving the most compelling side of the equation out, which is what they don't know could be better or different because they're not experts in your industry.
Right.
So salespeople in those interactions, you can't lecture, right? Because no one wants to be lectured, not even young kids.
Yeah.
So you have to come up with these thoughtful, insightful questions. I call them positioning questions that are designed to help someone think differently about the solution they have or could have.
Well,
Want me to give you an example?
Yeah, I was writing that down. I was just going to ask you for one.
Yeah. So I live in Minnesota, and we're one of the rare states in this country where every homeowner and every business has to contract for trash removal. So Wednesday mornings, there's a parade of garbage trucks coming down my street representing every hauler you can name.
Okay.
Each truck seemingly doing the same thing. Pulls up to the home, arm extends, grabs the can, lifts it up, dumps it into the truck, puts it back down, they drive away, you get an invoice at the end of the month. Well, the CEO of one of these companies reached out to me and said, I believe we provide meaningful value beyond our competition, but our salespeople haven't been able to harness that and communicate that and position it with buyers. So they contracted with me to go through a program around sales differentiation. And one of the differentiators we uncovered is this service they provide. It's called a Can Be Clean, which is a truck that twice a year follows a garbage truck and cleans your garbage cans.
Nice.
Only one in the state of Minnesota that offers that. And so they've got residential salespeople knocking on doors, making phone calls, trying to engage someone in a conversation about garbage.
Yeah.
So,
that's interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So we developed a positioning question for those salespeople. First thing out of their mouths after they introduce themselves, when's the last time you had your garbage cans cleaned? Because we know they never have unless they did it themselves. And someone starts, yeah, why isn't someone cleaning my garbage cans? So we've created some disruption and something that someone normally would have said, unless you're cutting my price in half, get off my doorstep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sometimes it's really hard to differentiate services. I think when I talked to you last time, I mentioned I used to sell a product that was exactly the same as another product. Price, everything was exactly the same. It was a generic medication. And sometimes it comes down to your personality, doesn't it? I mean, I could remember calling on one doctor who wrote a lot of my competitors' medications, scripts for them, and they hated this guy. I mean, and I'm like, all the doctors did, and this guy especially did. And I said, well, if you hate this guy, why are you writing for his medications? He said, because he's always here, and I just think about it because I see his face all the time. I don't think that would fly in today's world as much as it did in the past. Do you? I mean, I thought, okay, if that's what it takes, I'll come bug you. But I don't think that's what we want, is it?
Well, I mean, salespeople have been told sales is a numbers game,
Mm-hmm.
right? Certain number of these leads to a certain number of those, get you a certain number of these.
Mm-hmm.
And there certainly is a math equation part of it, meaning a quantitative part, but let's talk about the qualitative part.
Okay.
If you look at every interaction you have, and you mentioned the example of a doctor, I describe it as being prescriptive.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing should be accidental. If you look at every interaction you have between a salesperson and a buyer, look for opportunities to provide meaningful value where someone says, I'd rather buy from you, I'd rather do business with you rather than your competitor, even if you're a little more, even if the product's the same. And so I get into this topic in my book, a chapter dedicated to what I call personal value differentiation. And salespeople, every salesperson has this opportunity to differentiate based on who they are and the value that they provide. But very few take a step back and say, I'm going to build a persona around me, build value around me so that someone would rather do business with me rather than my competitor. I'll tell you a little story. Years ago, I had this woman who sold for me, and while she was there, she got pregnant. And I was amazed the day she gave birth, the gifts that she received from Fortune 1000 companies. I mean, Target,
Wow.
General Mills. Here's the punchline. None of them were clients. There was no revenue relationship yet. But she built so much value in the relationship up front that they felt endeared to her that when she had a baby, oh, we got to buy her something. I was just amazed just watching the office, big boxes of stuff coming in. It was amazing. So we all have this opportunity, but we're not prescriptive. We don't take this step back and say, who am I such that someone would want to do business with me rather than the competition?
Yeah, I think a lot of salespeople don't really think as much about who they are as much as what their product is and how it differentiates from something else. You know what I mean? Because long-term service sales in pharmaceuticals was that way. It was really important who you were, sometimes more in that than one-time dial for dollars, let's get to the point kind of sales. Do you differentiate of how you're supposed to sell in those two settings? I mean, do you do something the same or something different?
Well, let me flip that around to a question. When I ask salespeople, who are your biggest competitors? They rattle off the big three immediately.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, no, that's not it. And they'll look at me and they think I'm being cute. They say, the age-old old status quo argument, which I've written about as well. But no, that's not it either. And then they're like, okay, I give up. Who is it? And the answer is every single salesperson that's calling on the same person as you, regardless of what they're selling, what you're competing for is FaceTime. They're only going to meet with so many people.
Right.
Right? Or maybe one salesperson because they got a job to do.
Right.
So who's going to build that relationship in a really differentiated way, in the way that they reach out to them, that person the other end of the phone says, I got to meet this person. So when you think about competition, sales, they're very linear. They say, these are my big three. I got to worry about this guy, that guy, and the other guy. And like I said, then they think of being cute about the whole status quo thing. And I agree, the choice to do nothing.
Yeah.
But the biggest one that salespeople really have to get their arms around is this whole idea that it's not just your industry and those three competitors calling on that individual. Whatever their responsibilities are, someone is calling on them from that industry, multiple people, and you've got to stand out in a differentiated way so they take that meeting with you.
Yeah, and I think confidence has so much to do with how they look at you. I mean, if you don't back down when they ask you questions and say, well, the problem I see a lot of salespeople make is they try to fake answers when they don't know them.
Absolutely.
And then you lost their credibility with them completely. I think I always was taught, if you don't know the answer, you say, I really don't know that off the top of my head, but I'll look it up and I'll get it right back to you, and you get right back to them. Is that the best way still?
It is. And so back to that conversation of personal value differentiation, one of the challenges sometimes with salespeople is they're marvelous working with their prospects, and they're a nightmare internally. They beat up the customer service people and the operations people, and they don't have those relationships. So in the scenario you describe, the correct answer is still to say, you know what, that's a great question. I don't have the answer, but I know who does in our organization. Get that person on the phone later in the day or send an email and be able to help out that client. Well, if you don't have those relationships, really hard to satisfy that question.
Right.
I found every company has two ways that they work. There's SOPs, standard operating procedures, and then there's relationship procedures.
Yeah.
If I have a relationship with someone in customer service, I can get things done a lot easier than relying on the SOPs that say go step 1, 2, 3, 4. So that relationship piece, we talk about personal value differentiation, having that relationship established throughout your company so that when something is needed, you can get it done.
Yeah, I see a lot of relationship issues in all aspects of organizations. I can remember being in subprime sales where there was a lot of resentment for the perks that salespeople got that other people in the company didn't get. Like, we'd have a ping pong table because we were supposed to be stressed out. Nobody else could play on our ping pong table or whatever it was. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's a perception that salespeople somehow have it easy because they make money, and it's anybody that's done sales, you and I know, it's hard.
It is hard.
It's a hard job. That's why you make money. There's a reason for it, right?
That's true.
So how do we get people to get over that? And understand that if you don't have salespeople, you don't have income, you don't have a job. But you don't want to come across as that to people. You want to be endearing to them so they have a relationship with you. But what if there's resentment? Do you see much of that anymore, or is that just something that was in my day?
No, that's still around. This whole sales operations strife and envy of salespeople earning a paycheck. What I find, the really sharp salespeople, and when I say sharp salespeople, coincidentally, or maybe not, these are also your top earners. They set aside a percentage of their income that they invest in their own organization. And so they have a customer service person does a nice job for them. They'll go out and they'll buy them a $50 gift certificate or a $100 gift card here or there. That they're making that relationship investment where you can't figure out how to resolve the age-old company strife, right? You don't have that authority. You don't have that ability. So you got to worry about you and what you need to be successful in your job. And you need these people to feel good about you.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, years ago, I worked for a very progressive company, not the company progressive, but a
Yeah.
progressive thinking company.
Uh-huh.
And the founder and CEO used to be the Surgeon General, Assistant Surgeon General in this country. And we had reverse health insurance benefits.
Hmm.
The more you made, the more you paid. Usually it's a perk, the higher you are in the
Yeah,
organization.
that's interesting.
Because here's what he said to the executive team and to the salespeople. Without them, you can't do your job. So let's take care of those folks in operations and customer service that are at lower income levels so that they stick around. It was a brilliant strategy.
Right. Well, it is interesting to see how things have changed. And you were talking about some concepts in your book that I'm not sure that, we have time to go through all 19 of them, but you had 19 sales concepts. And I just wondered if you wanted to hit on some of those that we haven't touched on already that you think are really important.
Well, and we've gone around this, but I haven't said the words yet. And I'm so
Okay.
passionate about it, which is how you sell, not just what you sell, differentiates you.
Okay.
And if you think about that expression, what that means is there's value in the product that you're selling, but you're not limited to what that product is when we talk about differentiating yourself and providing meaningful value to whom you're selling. I'll tell you a little story.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, we were hosting the holidays, and my wife and I decided, you know what, the dining room carpeting, it had seen its best days. Okay?
Uh-huh.
So we went to Home Depot. Plenty of flooring options, and we walk in completely overwhelmed by all the choices. And I found a clerk behind a computer. I said, hey, can you help us out here? My wife and I are here to buy. Not looking, we're here to buy.
Mm-hmm.
And he points over here, points over there, smiles, and walks away. We walked out of that store
Without buying.
frustrated. Now we were annoyed, right? I had a credit card on my forehead. I was there for one purpose, to buy carpeting. So my wife and I were driving home, and we passed a flooring store. I go, Sharon, so what do you think? Want to try again? She goes, sure. Walk into the flooring store, and immediately overwhelmed again by all the carpet choices, but only for a moment. Salesperson walks up. She says, so tell me a little bit about where you're putting carpeting. Well, this is for a dining room. She says, okay, this carpeting over here, not for you. You have dogs? I said, well, I have two large dogs, as you know.
Yes, I do.
And she turns to her left. She says, this carpeting over here, not for you.
Mm-hmm.
You have kids? I said, no, I got 3 teenagers. This section, not for you. So we went from this universe of choices to a select few, and she helped me make an informed buying decision, and we bought. Was their carpeting any better? I don't think so. Was their pricing better? I'm pretty sure I paid a little bit more, but I didn't care. I was there for a specific purpose, and she helped me achieve it. And that's what I mean when we talk about how you sell, not just what you sell, differentiates you. This buying experience that she created helped me achieve my objectives.
Yeah, but you see so many companies hire people just to have them on the floor, and they
Yeah.
don't even think about what they're taught them. It amazes me the lack of training or thought. That's not even the salesperson's fault at that point because they've never been in a sales position. They don't know better.
Absolutely.
Why do companies do that? I mean, is it a warm body in their mind? And I mean, I don't get that thought process. Do you?
No. Well, so now you're getting into the book prior to sales differentiation, which is higher right, higher profits.
Right.
When I talk about the whole issue of sales onboarding and companies not recognizing that you don't hire great salespeople, you hire salespeople with the potential to be great in your sales role.
Yeah.
Which means that the interview process doesn't expose an instant salesperson that say, here's the yellow pages to use your story from before, go sell.
Uh-huh.
It's someone with potential, and you have to put together a development program around onboarding to help that potential become reality.
In all my jobs, I have to say that pharmaceutical sales, they did the most amazing training. And then, mortgage sales, they're like, here's your desk. I mean, you went 2 years over here of nonstop training and you have nothing. And
Right.
I think that's the commissions, 100% commission places that do more of that where they don't train you. They just kind of think, well, I don't have to pay them if they don't do it. And that. I mean, there's still the cost of missed opportunity and all the things that the people don't even think about in what they do. But I thought it was interesting that you talk about prospecting as well, and I kind of wanted you to discuss that.
Sure.
How has that changed?
Well, a few ways. Number one, this little fad, you may have heard of it, called the internet.
Yes, I've heard of it.
So tons of information, not just at the buyer's fingertips, but at ours. So we have the ability to develop strategy before we ever pick up the phone. And so I use this metaphor of a sales crime theory, and it's based on this. Imagine it's 2 in the morning, and there's a pounding on your front door, and it's the police. They want to talk with you about a crime that's recently been committed. Now, they don't randomly pick your home and you for a conversation. They followed a trail of evidence, put together a crime theory, and that's led them to you for a conversation right now. Can you see the metaphor and how that's coming together?
Yes, I can.
So before we pick up the phone and make someone feel like the sales call of the moment, we need to put together a sales crime theory. Figure out for the decision influencers, that's what I refer to as those people that affect the decision to buy from us or not. For each decision influencer, what do they care about? What's most important to them? And then look for evidence in news and media, information about them, information about you that leads to the answer to this question. Why should they want to talk with you right now? Okay. It's not why should we talk with them. Why should they want to talk with you right now? So, for example, if you are in the flooring business, to continue a story from before, and you hear that a new location is opening, you know they need flooring. So that's an example of evidence that you can then contact that right person and position your flooring expertise to help them. Right. Instead of randomly calling and say, hey, I've got the best flooring in the world, and of course you can improve it, right? That's and you can watch or listen to our interview from last time to hear about the whole best conversation. So remember what I said before, though. We're competing for minutes. We're competing for FaceTime, and I don't mean your Apple device. I mean FaceTime as in someone wanting to meet with you rather than the competitor. And the sales crime theory approach helps you to differentiate yourself so someone sees that you cared enough, do some homework before you picked up the phone.
Yeah, there's so much homework to do. There's so much work to do when you are in sales. And I know you talk about RFPs, and in my day when I sold computers in the 80s, RFPs were the biggest nightmare. I mean, they're bids for people who aren't familiar with it, basically, for your product. We had to print everything and put in notebooks and collate.
Oh, yeah. I was with you. I did say that.
It was horrible. Is it still just, what's it like now? Is it any better?
So now it's digitized, right? So you're submitting things usually online, and then you have these reverse auctions. Are you familiar with those?
I haven't had to do them, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, so it takes the RFP, which is designed to commoditize what you're selling, and takes it to this umpteenth level where you put in your number and you're competing downward on price, and ultimately you sacrifice all the margin and don't get the deal.
Oh, yeah. Things, technology's great, and then technology's got that too.
It does. But RFPs don't have to be all bad news. I mean, salespeople, you say RFP, you might as well have called them a 4-letter word instead of saying a 3-letter one, because they're just like, okay, it's game over. I'm not low price. I lose.
Right.
Well, again, I said at the very beginning, look for every interaction between buyer and seller and say, where can I provide meaningful value? How can I differentiate myself? Well, just because you get an RFP, there's no law that says you have to respond to it.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone and call the person that sent it to you, thank them for including you, find out how you got on the list.
Yeah.
What's the criteria they're using? Have they definitively decided to make a change? What are they doing today? Ask some positioning questions that forces the technical buyer to get involved. So you have procurement, they have their role and responsibility. They probably aren't going to know the answers to the important questions, but perhaps they can bring someone into the conversation. Yeah. And the message is, we get a lot of these RFPs, and we're very selective in which ones we respond to. So we wanted to ask a few questions to see if we're potentially a right fit for your organization. If they refuse to take that call and have those questions, take that RFP and chuck it.
Yeah.
If you have that conversation, get to do that, make sure you plan it and use that opportunity to shape buyer decision criteria. So how are you going to handle this situation? What are you going to do with that? Things that they haven't thought about.
Well,
There are opportunities that you can help them with.
yeah.
And then you finish with this. Have you already written the RFP? And chances are they're going to say, well, in this case they have, but a lot of times if they tell you that going to RFP, if you say, have you written it? They say, no, we haven't done it. Have you written an RFP for this before? No, we haven't. Well, we have a template. We've actually written an RFP.
Yeah.
As if we were buying what it is that you're looking to procure, has all the key questions in it so you can make an informed buying decision. What have we done? We've shown we understand.
I love that.
We show we have expertise. We show we care. And guess what? We're the only ones offering it.
Have you stacked the deck too?
Yeah, right? I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
It wasn't an RFP, but it was this type of scenario. So I found out I had to have insulation blown in my attic. Never bought it before. Let my fingers do the walking. You probably think that's the Yellow Pages. I now associate that with Google. And I found 3 companies that do insulation work, had them each out. First guy shows up, gives me a price. Second guy shows up, gives me a price. The third guy sent me an email before he got there. The email said, I'm guessing you've never purchased insulation before. Here are a series of questions that you're going to want to ask of each of the providers to make sure you make an informed decision. This was before he got here. Differentiated himself with how he sold before he got here. Guess what? That's who I picked.
Yeah.
One of the questions he asked me was, are you looking to take advantage of the rebate from the utility company? I said, rebate? What rebate?
Right.
Only one that told me that I got $500 back by having insulation blown into my attic.
Yeah. And it's great. Yeah, because you're listing questions that are going to direct them your way too, which, it really is, that's brilliant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the idea of positioning questions.
Yeah, that is so great. And, I'm so excited for you with your book and how successful you've been with all your work and your past books. And I really look forward to seeing how sales differentiation does, because I can imagine that it will be a huge success like everything else you do.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you.
Well, I'd like you to be able to just to share. How can people find out more? Do you have links or whatever, anything you want to share?
Yep, you can go right up on Amazon and you can order the book. It's available on hardcover, Kindle, as well as audiobook. And to reach me, you can go to my website, which is Sales Architects, ARCHITECTS.com, salesarchitects.com.